Hello, everybody. I'm broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations, perhaps soon to be tariffed again. I've actually lost track. I lost track of the tariffs. My name's Brian Engelman. Today is March 2nd, 2025. And you are watching the TNAM AM show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show. I think the Agree to Disagree... I've done the Agree to Disagree show for 14 years, and I'm considering some different format tweaks, wondering if maybe that show should mostly be for interviewing guests. Not entirely certain how I want to proceed with it. Kind of retooling. I'm telling people, join us live right now. It's okay. Facebook won't show the people, the thousands of people in my many TNAM groups. They don't like us. Well, we don't like them. We don't think Meta's a good company. They're not fair. They don't let us articulate ourselves. They are part of the deep state. But look, today, the reason we're broadcasting on one of our other channels, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. We have a YouTube channel specifically for our sports content. And we shared this on our Facebook page for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, is because we're going to talk about Pete Rose today. Should he be reinstated? I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on this. And I have for a long time. So it's interesting. It's been brought to the zeitgeist that we're all having this conversation now. We're going to talk about that. So we'll lead with sports. If you want to leave after sports, you can turn the channel off. If your delicate sensibilities can't handle discussing the things that are going on in the world. It's too political. Life is political. Reinstating Pete Rose is political, but it's sports. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to discuss the Oscars. I have a connection with the Oscars, a unique connection, having lived in Los Angeles and been around that whole thing for a while. I'll talk about it. I have thoughts. We're also going to talk about Pam Bondi. What is going on with the Epstein files? I'm hearing stories. I'm hearing rumors. A lot of people are waiting. What does it mean? We'll talk about it. U.S. submarines are not going to be allowed to get... Norway is blocking them from refueling? Okay, Norway. Is this going to be a complete reconfiguration of treaties and European alliances? I have thoughts on that too. All of these things and more will be discussed on today's program, as well as really the Zelensky fallout. Yesterday, was it yesterday's show or 2 shows ago? I forget. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, however you're watching the TNAM AM show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the heart button, hit the thumbs up, however you're watching. Yeah, it seems like the deck is being shuffled right now. And the cards are being dealt. I'm not playing cards. You're playing cards with World War III. This isn't a game of cards. Oh, this is a game of cards. Well, speaking of games, let's start with what I told you I was going to start with. Since I'm giving you sports content, you can duck in and duck out if that's all you're here for. Let's get to Pete Rose, shall we? I am interested in this story. Do we have the screen up? Let's switch the screens. Can we go side by side? Almost weird spacing on this site. All right, we'll do it that way. This is from ESPN. Commissioner Rob Manfred is considering a petition filed on January 8th by Pete Rose's family to have Major League Baseball's all-time hit leader posthumously removed from baseball's ineligible list. Multiple sources with knowledge of the situation told ESPN on Saturday. Jeffrey Lenkov, a Los Angeles lawyer who represented Rose prior to his death at age 83 in late September, said he filed the reinstatement after he and Fawn Rose, the oldest daughter of Pete Rose, Fawn, okay, met with Manfred and MLB spokesman Pat Courtney in the commissioner's office December 17. The commissioner was respectful, gracious, and actively participated in productive discussions regarding removing Rose from the ineligible list, Lenkov said at the 1-hour meeting in the commissioner's office. Lenkov said he is seeking Rose's removal from Major League Baseball's banned list for betting on baseball so that he could seek induction into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, which had long been his desire and now being sought posthumously by his family. MLB sources acknowledge the commissioner met with Fawn Rose and Lenkov and that Manfred is now reviewing the petition to reinstate Rose. In December 2015, Manfred rejected Rose's reinstatement petition after meeting with Rose. They both declined comment. Lenkov's comments came a day after President Donald Trump said he would pardon Rose and criticized Major League Baseball for barring Rose from the Baseball Hall of Fame. Rose was banned from baseball for life by then-Commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti in 1989. Over the next few weeks, I'll be signing a complete pardon of Pete Rose, who shouldn't have been gambling on baseball, but only bet on his team winning, Trump posted on social media. He never betted. Is betted a word? That was the one part of the tweet that bothered me. I didn't care about the sentiment. I didn't disagree with the sentiment. Betted? He never bet against himself. Betted? I don't use the word betted. He never betted against himself or the other team. He had the most hits by far in baseball history and won more games than anyone in history. Although Trump did not say what the pardon would cover, Rose served 5 months in prison after pleading guilty to tax evasion in 1990. Lenkov said he had not actively sought the White House's assistance in his efforts to seek reinstatement for Rose. When he gets passionate about an issue, POTUS stands behind it, Lenkov said of Trump. He was passionate about Pete, and he would have appreciated the president's commitment to him. Lenkov declined to release the petition that he sent to Manfred, but it describes what Rose would have said honestly and candidly to Commissioner Manfred if he'd been able to attend that meeting. It's now time to turn the page on Rose's legacy in baseball, for the Hall of Fame to honor him. Whether you're a fan or not of Pete Rose, we are at our best. We are at our best a nation of second chances, a nation of giving people second opportunities. We don't write people off. Rose spent 24 years, most of it playing with the Cincinnati Reds, and he won the World Series 3 times. Career hits leader, games played leader, at-bats leader, singles leader, outs leader. Man. Really, you're getting into that rarefied air of LeBron James territory? You could say, rather, LeBron James has entered the rarefied air of Pete Rose territory, regardless. But obviously, in the 70s and 80s, that's different from, LeBron wasn't even alive then. But when you have the most hits and the most outs, it's because you've taken the most swings. Nobody's perfect. Nobody gets everything right. LeBron is and by the way, LeBron this season might be having the best statistical. It's insane. They compared the stats of LeBron this year to Derrick Rose's MVP year, and LeBron beats him. It's wild. And don't look now. The Lakers are, the 8th best team in basketball or something? With Luka now, double All-Stars. Maybe a potential opponent for the Cavaliers in the finals. We shall see if they could get past the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are dominating much like the Cavs, running neck and neck for best team in the league. Although the Cavs did have an awesome come-from-behind victory. Started off, they were down 25-3 in the first quarter in Boston against the Celtics. Cavs came back to get that win. Huge win, because the Celtics are the best second best team in the East. But yeah, you get into that territory where you have like every record. You're in LeBron James, Pete Rose, Tom Brady. It's just you've played for 2+ decades and you've been excellent every year you've played. It's rare to see. Rose often said no player had won more Major League Baseball games than him. John Dowd investigated Rose for gambling on baseball in '89 and served as Trump's lawyer 7 years ago, noted that MLB is not in the pardon business, nor does it control admission to the Hall of Fame. In 2020, ESPN reported that for all practical purposes, Commissioner Manfred viewed baseball's banned list as punishing players during their lifetimes, but ending upon their death. A senior MLB source told ESPN then that after a banned player dies, MLB informally sees that as the banning end. When Manfred denied Rose's petition for reinstatement, he said, under the Major League Constitution, my only concern has to be the protection of the integrity of play on the field through appropriate enforcement of the Major League Baseball rules. Not part of my authority or responsibility here to make any determination regarding Mr. Rose's eligibility as a candidate for election to the Baseball Hall of Fame. In 91, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown passed a rule declaring that any player ruled ineligible by Major League Baseball could not appear on a Hall of Fame ballot. This became known as the Pete Rose rule because it closely followed the indefinite banning of Rose. Rose never appeared on a Hall of Fame ballot, as Lenkoff seeks a precedent-setting ruling by Manfred on Rose's removal from the ineligible list. He said he hopes he can use it to persuade the Baseball Hall of Fame to allow baseball writers to vote for Rose's induction. In the past, Hall of Fame representatives have said that after a player dies and he's still on the ban list, he still won't be eligible for consideration for the Hall of Fame. And Rose had numerous opportunities to win reinstatement during his lifetime. Bud Selig in the early 2000s offered Rose a chance for reinstatement, but insisted on conditions, including that Rose would have had to admit that he gambled on baseball, made no casino appearances, and that he stopped gambling. But Rose declined. In 2004, Rose admitted in a book that he gambled as a manager of the Reds, but he insisted he only bet on his team to win. Years later, ESPN reported that Rose also placed bets as a player, but Rose didn't agree with that. He didn't admit that. I mean, so who's right there? ESPN reporting it or Rose not admitting it? Well, I mean, just because ESPN reported it doesn't make it true. Just because Rose denied it doesn't make it true. But the way that's written, it's almost like, well, we proved it, but Rose didn't. He didn't raise his hand and say that he was guilty. Maybe I'm reading too much in that sentence, but the way it's presented makes me think they're presenting it that way. Legally, the lifetime ban is over. His lifetime is over, said Lenkov, who is also the executive producer of the recent Pete Rose documentary on HBO. The Hall of Fame has a rule that if you're on an eligible list, you can't be considered. If he's taken off that list, there's still no guarantee he gets in. It's a unique situation because he's never even been on a Hall of Fame ballot. But if he gets in, it'll be a wonderful thing. Imagine the outpouring of emotion to go to the Hall of Fame when he's finally inducted. And why not? As a lawyer and as an American, I believe in second chances. Pete Rose has had a long prison sentence, as long a prison sentence as any person could have ever imagined. And now's the time for Pete Rose to get his second chance. I remember I was in Las Vegas. Jeez, I don't even remember when. There was a period there where I was going to Vegas quasi-regularly. Living in Los Angeles, it was only a 3.5-hour drive, unless it was a 7-hour drive. That's how this stuff goes. If the traffic's okay, you get there in no time. And if the traffic's lousy, yeah, you're doubling your drive. It was sort of brutal. But I went to eat lunch at a Schlotzsky's. I believe it was. I remember the layout of the place. It might not have been a Schlotzsky's because I did famously have a Schlotzsky's when I was in 9th grade when I went out there with my friend and his family. Ate at a Schlotzsky's and he forever made fun of me. It's like, out of all these options at this food court, you have anything you want and you pick Schlotzsky's, something you never heard of. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Why would I do that? Why would I get McDonald's? I can get that anywhere. I want to try something different. That's the point. Anyway. And Pete Rose was sitting there at a table. I didn't bother him. But I was like, oh, that's Pete Rose. Cool. I have long held the opinion that there needs to be an asterisk wing to the Hall of Fame in baseball. There are players like Omar Vizquel. Omar's been accused of being mean to players and doing mean things or saying mean things or being a bad guy or something. When he played in Cleveland, he's the best player I've ever seen at his position, at shortstop. I've never seen anything like it. And when you compare his lifetime stats, it's weird. It's like you compare the lifetime stats of Kenny Lofton to Ichiro. Ichiro gets in unanimously, and they won't even give Kenny Lofton a chance. It's like He was if he's not a better player, he's on par. Oh, Ozzie Smith. Oh, look, he did a backflip going out there to shortstop. Who cares? Hooray. Omar had fewer errors in his career than all of these Hall of Fame players. Most of these Hall of Fame players. And it's like the only reason you can give that Omar Vizquel's not in at shortstop as the best defensive shortstop of all time. You can argue that, but what is he, number 2? You can't argue he's not the second best, if not the best. But maybe as a coach, he did some things. Maybe in his personal life, there were some things. Not going to legislate it here. I don't have them all committed to memory. It's just on the field, nobody's ever done it like that. And the Hall of Fame is supposed to reward the on-the-field shit. When you see somebody diving, stop behind the back, I can close my eyes and hear the Cleveland Indians calls, the radio announcers. Like, yeah, he didn't have a cool nickname like the Wizard. He didn't do backflips, but he was a better player than Ozzie Smith. Yeah, I said it. But they won't let him in. Pete Rose, he's the hits leader. Let him in. Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds. If you didn't get to witness what happened in 97, 98, you 99, whatever year that was, 2000. It had to be, it was 96, 97, 98, I think. That home run race, Sammy Sosa. Put them in the Hall of Fame. You want to build a separate division, put a different wing attached. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching this. Question of the day, type it in the comments. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And if any of you want to join the show, hey, it's the weekend. I'll put the link and you can click and join us. Give us your take in the comments section. But do you agree or disagree that we should open a asterisk wing of the Hall of Fame for players like Manny Ramirez, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Pete Rose, Omar Vizquel? Obviously, some of the best performances we have ever seen on a baseball diamond. And they're shut out. They're shut out. Some did steroids, some were gambling, some had personal issues. Okay. So what? Well, the Hall of Fame is supposed to... Okay, I get it. Then don't let him in the Hall of Fame. Build a subdivision, build a wing, call it the Hall of Shame, and on their plaque explain because he was admitted to this, or he was accused of this, or it was suspected of this, because Barry Bonds was implicated in this, because Sam Sosa admitted this, because Omar was in this. Yes, Omar Vizquel's on the same level as Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. He's one of the best to ever play his position in the history of the game. Put an asterisk on their plaque, on their bust, and let him in. Call that wing the Hall of Shame. Maybe not officially call it the Hall of Shame, or maybe you do. Maybe you do. But it's time. And I'm curious who disagrees. Well, he's not pristine enough for the... It doesn't meet my high personal standards. Do you have any idea what people did and got away with? The spitballs the pitchers were using, the injections they didn't get caught using, the therapies that they... I'm looking to grade the best performances on the field. Call it the Hall of Shame and move on. Those are my thoughts. Tell me yours. All right, let's jump into the news here and see what people are talking about on today's special weekend episode. I was thinking, I shouldn't do a show today. It's Sunday. You should take a day off. It's the Lord's Day. Take a rest. And I'm like, this isn't work to me. I enjoy this. I enjoy unpacking the news and talking about what's going on, because through talking about it, I'm able to understand it more clearly. I understand myself better. So let's listen to this conversation with Joe Rogan. What do you say about this?
What we know is you have a very young kid who was filmed. They knew he was there with a rangefinder a half an hour before the event. You also know that CNN streamed it live, which I do not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. Like, there's a lot of weird shit. The fact that they wouldn't let people be on that roof because the Secret Service lady said it was sloped and it was dangerous. That's what she'd want to have. Meanwhile, the snipers that were on the other roof was a steeper pitch. It made no fucking sense.
I totally agree. It makes no sense.
What we know is you have a very young.
So, that's a question I would put out there. Well, number one, how can we identify all the co-conspirators? The facts are obvious. I would love to get a fact check on that. If CNN has aired any other Trump rally, that's been said, but I'd love to get to the bottom of it. And that sloped roof thing, to me, that was a dead giveaway. To me, that was a dead giveaway that they were in on some sort of conspiracy to make sure that Trump was offed that day. Those are my thoughts. Tell me yours. Type them in the comments, hit like, hit subscribe. By the way, follow The New American Media. We have a page on Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube, The New American Media. Our podcast is The Agree to Disagree Show. That puts all the TNAM AM shows in there on Spotify and iTunes. We're on X at American_media_. We're on Telegram and Truth Social at TNAM and TNAM Chat. Patreon.com/The New American Media. Venmo at Brian Engelman. Cash App, $ Brian Engelman. And PayPal at Fuzz Installment, if you would feel so inclined to contribute to The New American Media here. We're not paid by the pharmaceutical companies to be their spokespeople. We're not paid by shady NGOs to push agendas. We just unpack the news and try to give you honest analysis. If you like it, we appreciate your appreciation and your support. All right, let's go to Jason Meister. I don't know how to pronounce that. He says there's nothing further to discuss with Zelensky. All communications with his regime should be over. He leveled a terrorist threat against our country in the Oval Office, spoke over our president and vice president, disrespected our nation, our people, and our elected government. He's an arrogant, ungrateful, entitled buffoon whose incompetence threatens our country's security and solvency. He should take the tracksuit off, immediately rescind his ban on elections, resign in shame, and allow the Ukrainian people to choose a leader who's interested in peace, not endless war. I took that as a threat. You have big ocean, but soon you will know that's not the... Oh, I'm sorry. Soon we're going to what? Don't tell me how we're going to think. Did you just threaten us? We had planes in... over the Mar-a-Lago airspace, restricted air, 3 planes yesterday, 2 days ago, this weekend. We have 30 million illegal alien invaders peppered throughout the country, perhaps sitting and waiting as sleeper cells from parts unknown, waiting to commit God knows what act. The reports are abounding.
And so what?
The reports are abounding that the weaponry that was purchased to give to Zelensky in Ukraine has been sold for pennies on the dollar, I think 20% on the dollar, to Mexican drug cartels on our southern border and to other various terrorist groups that could harm us. Oh, yeah, we got questions. They say they're missing $100 billion. Are you? Are you? Yeah, I've never liked Zelensky's attitude. I've never liked his approach. I've never liked this guy. When he was elected, I thought it was cool that an outsider, hey, cool, a comedian became I wasn't fully aware of what Victoria Nuland, the deep state, the New World Order, Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton, like all these people. I had no idea what game they were playing in Ukraine to overthrow Poroshenko. But since things have been on a global scale at this point, you know, what happens in some random ass country thousands of miles away, spin the globe to even look on the other side of it, see what's going on. It's like, you know, whatever. It's just another thing going on. But this thing has sucked all of us into it. It's been what, like a whirlpool? What do you call that? Like it's been like lifting the plug on a drain, and it's sucking all of us down with it. How about that? There's the analogy I'm looking for. Speaking of sucking, let's talk about Gavin Newsom, realimpact.us here. They're saying this is Gavin Newsom in March 2023. They're deploying 1,200 tiny homes by fall at a cost of 750 million taxpayer dollars. In reality, 2 years later, neither the 1,200 tiny homes or 750 million taxpayer dollars can be found. I booked a guest sort of based on this story, a gentleman named Adam Kokesh. He's been involved in all sorts of political endeavors, veteran, podcaster, activist, lightning rod. I've known Adam for years, haven't talked to him in a long time. I'm finally now with the Agree to Disagree show, maybe going back and reaching back out to some guests, and starting to book special guests again. I had been settled into a bi-weekly show. Am I saying that right? Not every 2 weeks. I mean, twice a week, twice weekly show, whatever that means. Is bi-weekly meaning I do a show every other week? Or does bi-weekly mean I do 2 shows in that week? But I had been doing regular shows with Blake Wally, doing the Agree to Disagree show and unpacking the news. And we've kind of branched off. He's making some of his original content. I'm doing some of my content. And I've been doing more shows than ever. I said, you know, the thing I've never done with the New American Media, I've never been all in on a daily basis. So let me do it now. Let me do it now. Honestly, because there's never been this much news. February is the smallest month in terms of days, and I feel like it was the biggest month politically I've ever seen in my life. The amount of important, relevant, interesting news that's been happening is through the roof. So I don't want to miss a thing. And I don't want to miss a thing. I don't want to close my eyes. But yeah, Adam Kokesh and I, we went to the LA City Hall, and we were part of a protest, Tiny Homes for the Homeless. And my main thing was like, look, you got to get these people off the streets. I'm in a big HOA right in the middle of the city. People are throwing tents up in between buildings, trying to throw tents on the sidewalk. You can't have that. They're the entire back alley. It's turning into a huge homeless encampment with drugs and prostitution and fights, fires, robberies, criminal activity. Like, it's crazy because 90% of the people on the streets, they're mental cases. They need mental health services. They need to be remanded to a facility and get some help. There are crazy people that cannot be roaming the streets. And if there's some people who are nonviolent that can be rehabbed or put on medications or like taught life skills, and they can be in a halfway house with regular check-ins or something, cool. But they can't be harming the community. They can't be terrorizing us. The law-abiding, litter picking up, graffiti removing, landscape improving, quality of life raising citizens of this neighborhood cannot be abused by these people. Because it's abuse, and it's threats, it's actual violence, it's a degradation of life, it's squalor, it's geez, when the cops cleaned it up, one of the senior lead officers got really sick from some of the disease and some of the bacteria that they uncovered after moving out truck after truck of human waste and filth that had festered back there in their drug den, their prostitution den, just piles of homeless trash. Look at Los Angeles Skid Row. Like it's vile. You cannot allow it. And you know what? If there's no room in Los Angeles, if you don't have the room or the space or the money for the facilities, go to the desert where nothing's going on, build a nice facility and take the people there and work with them to try to get their lives back on track. They're either mentally ill or they are just in the throes of addiction. They need help. And so I gave that message that we have to clean up our neighborhoods. And I said, look, the VA has all of this land that's been donated to it. It's supposed to be used for veterans. We have veterans sleeping on our streets. Huge property, huge driveway. Put a subdivision of tiny homes for veterans. And then build a communal restroom facility and a communal kitchen facility that they could use. but have everybody a little subdivision of tiny homes, just a place to safely lay your head. That was my message. And then let's listen to this Gavin Newsom, what he had to say here.
And so what we are doing is we're deploying these 1,200 plus units. You can see these units are not just in every case for one individual, multiple individuals in these units. We're hoping to get them constructed in a matter of months, not years. We're trying to, I wanted to say the summer. My staff said press will attack us if we fall short, so we're saying the fall. And so what we are doing is we're deploying these.
Yeah, so I just said here, we're going to hold Gavin in California accountable for screwing this up. We are absolutely fed up. The reason
Fauci did some
is because, you know, he and I were there discussing this at the steps of City Hall. All these years later, it's like nothing has been done. It's insane. So we're going to talk about that and catch up with him. That's rescheduled for Thursday this week. Stay tuned, as well as other interviews coming soon. Keep your eyes peeled. Here is Woody Harrelson talking to Joe Rogan about Anthony Fauci.
Fauci did some extraordinarily evil shit.
Yeah, he
knows what he did.
He was the villain of the Dallas Buyers Club, that movie. That was about people trying to seek alternative treatments to deal with AIDS.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's Fauci.
Right.
That's AZT.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson got on AZT and it was killing him, and he got off of it.
Yeah.
And
he's still alive.
Yeah. It's a bummer. It's just a bummer that someone had that kind of power for so long. It was such a fucking monster.
Yeah. Did you see that little meme that went around? It was right after he got first time anyone ever got pre-pardoned.
Yeah.
And you said nothing says trust science like a blanket pre-pardon.
Yeah.
A picture of Fauci.
Well, the problem with that pre-pardon is he's pre-pardoned federally, but he's not pre-pardoned state-wise. These states can still sue him. Not only that, when you're pardoned, then you can no longer plead the fifth. So you could be held for perjury. So there's a lot of issues with being pardoned that I don't think Biden took into consideration, or Fauci took into consideration either. I think he just wanted anything to protect him because he knew it was coming. He knew that just the emails that were available that showed collusion, where he had gotten a hold of all.
Fauci did some extraordinarily evil shit.
Yeah, he
knows what he did.
Oh, okay. I guess that pipe. That video part replayed right there. We said we are 100% committed to holding Fauci accountable for his crimes against humanity. Let's indict him already. Enough is enough with Fauci. This is in the running for meme of the year, right? When you and the gang are ordering pizza and the broke-ass friend says, get wings too. Hold on. Stop. Is there a better meme that you've seen? That's so funny. And really, just the attitude of entitlement. Just because Biden and Newland were in there doing stuff. Yeah, we got a new boss. We threw those clowns out on their asses because they're anti-American. They're running us into the river. This is in the running for meme of the year. We'll call it TNAM meme of the year. That's epic. I love it. I don't love the situation we're in. I love
I was looking
doing that. Here's a voice, at least one voice of reason from Europeans. So they're not all out to lunch.
I was looking around social media today, and it struck me that a lot of people who like to start wars are suddenly very angry with one guy who wants to stop this war. And there are people who have taken us into one disaster after another, war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, who have spent much of today on social media attacking Trump. What we're seeing, I think, is a reset of geopolitics, a reset. We're seeing the breakdown of what you might call the international liberal world order, which saw 20, 30 years of one foreign policy disaster after another. And Trump, I was at the inauguration in America, and people around the president, are basically saying, you know, they've had enough of that constant interventionism. They've had enough of Europe, by the way, again, maybe a controversial point, but Europe not paying its way on defence. And they've looked to Germany, they've looked to France, they've looked to Italy, they've looked to the UK.
Okay, pause. As he says, we're looking to France, Germany, and UK. We have indeed had enough. America was being driven full speed into a brick wall by these globalists, by these New World Order types, by the Soros, the Nuland, the Obama, the Susan Rice, the Hillary Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas. It was a suicide pact to continue doing whatever the heck these idiots have been doing for decades. And in a way, you know, maybe Trump could have never proven this. We could have known it, but we could have never gotten through to the American people, brainwashed, hypnotized by what they thought was a news media, air quote. It was little more than propaganda outlets pushing this New World Order globalist governance, stripping America of rights and freedoms and liberties. Like Canada and the UK losing the right to firearms. Get your damn rights back. If you don't have the right to defend yourself against a madman in your neighborhood, a madman in your government, a madman trying to invade your country, then you're not free. You're free-range human. You're merely cattle to these people. In the ancient aliens theory, they talk about zoo theory, that we're all just kind of like, there's ant theory. It's like we're so small and insignificant. It's like, yeah, you know, you might have an ant farm and you look at them and it's like, oh, look at what they're building. Look at that. Hey, check it out. They're insignificant. You walk right over them. You don't even notice the anthill. That's not your concern. You have 100 things that are way more important. The zoo theory is that we're just kind of here and we're observed to see what happens. And, you know, maybe guided, nudged, as Cass Sunstein would say. Nudged. But if you can't protect yourself from a monster, then you're not free. Hard stop, full stop. You're not free. UK needs to get their rights back. They need to kick out the people that have invaded their countries. They need to remain sovereign, and they need to get their weapons back. Hard stop. Either you're free or you're not. And it seems like there have been advances to encroach upon and overthrow nations. Canada, get your weapons back. Get your freedom back. Kick out the illegal alien invaders. Canada is for Canadians, not for people invading your country. Americans are completely sick to our stomach that we've allowed it to go this far. And part of it was just because of how everything was presented in the newspapers, on the radio, on television, on the internet. And then those dark days of Obama, Biden, Obama running interference all through Trump's term and banning people on social media from having opinions. Look at the UK. They're working with Apple to invade your phone. Oh, you have a meme. Oh, you said something mean. We're going to arrest you. How about fuck off? Fuck off. Kindly. Off, please. Yes, I sometimes grab that crayon from the coloring box and I will use some coarse language because when you're talking about censorship, fuck you. I don't need to belabor the point. I think you get where I'm going. But freedom of speech is not in the zeitgeist. Freedom of speech is not codified in our governing documents, the First Amendment, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, everything that we're supposed to be about. It's not insignificant. It's not debatable. It's not optional. It's the first fucking thing that we said as a nation. You are going to protect. Free speech is not there to protect popular speech. And maybe it's unpopular right now that I'm swearing. I do understand that. I will back off of that now. I think I've proven my point. Isn't that what you said the last time? All right, fine. Once I get started with my sailor talk, it just kind of we're going to Michigan and we're going to Colorado. Ah! Question of the day. Who is that? Type it in the comments. First one to type the name of that man that I was just imitating wins my admiration. And I'll put it on the screen for you. You'll get to be a superstar for the moment. But really, another question of the day. Type your name or your initials and where you're watching from. And this is not just live. If you're watching this after the fact, jump in, leave some comments. Like as you're watching the show, jot some comments down. I love reading. We want the conversations to continue. We're just unpacking this stuff. But anyway, this guy's just talking, excuse me, about America having enough. We've been the nation's piggy, the globalist piggy bank for long enough. $36 trillion in debt. Are you out of your mind? We are bankrupt, insolvent, destitute. I mean, you don't function when you're spending more on interest than on your military spending. That's where we are. Oh, Elon's going too far. Trump is being... We have no nation if we don't save it. So we're backing out. We're like, we're not going to be your damn piggy bank. Cut a deal. Let's move along. And Zelensky has not been an honest arbiter. He has not been an honest negotiator. He's negotiated in bad faith. He's made us look bad. He's agreed to things privately that he's changing his mind on publicly. And we're not tolerating it. So yeah, Starmer just met with Trump. And then, oh, now Starmer just agreed to give $2 billion to Zelensky. Oh, who's in that meeting? Canada, Trudeau. Isn't Trudeau on his way out? Why don't we let Pierre Poilievre do the negotiating, shall we? Because Canada is a conquered nation, just like America was under Biden when he was installed in 2020. Installed. Anyway, let's get back to this guy giving his comments, because at least this guy seems to get it.
And they said, you know, what are you guys doing? You know, take Germany.
Yeah, what are they doing about Germany and the other nations over there in the EU? Where's your funding for this? Yeah, this is a European issue. Why are we on the hook for all this? It's Ukraine's not even a NATO nation. We didn't sign any agreement with Ukraine. And if Biden, Obama, Newland, Clinton, if they did, the best we can do, or the best we should do, is apologize to the people who believed a deep state Democrat. Rule number one, never trust a deep state Democrat. Rule number two, never get in bed with a deep state Democrat. Number three, avoid the bribery, blackmail, manipulation, shame, pressure tactics, bullying, and abuse from the deep state Democrats. They are monsters. The Democrat Party needs to be shattered to 1,000 pieces and scattered to the winds. That's essentially what JFK was saying about the deep state Democrats all the way back in the day. I think he said the intelligence agencies. I think he said CIA. Show me the difference between the deep state Democrat Party and the CIA. Show me. They are the same globalist pushing people who hate this country, will sell us out for money, power, and control. Don't give a damn about what carnage they leave in their wake, because they have big goals that they're pursuing. Oh, well, we have a strategic strategy. We have a strategic plan. We have a well thought out strategy. It's going to take a couple decades, but we're going to get there. Remember when Wesley Clark told you about what happened after the 9/11 attacks? Who was behind those, by the way? Where are the 9/11 files? Where's the Epstein files? We're going to get to Pam Bondi in a second. But in those attacks, everything changed for the United States, for everyone, really. Who's behind that? Who's funding that? Who's driving us into these situations? We end up waking up with, oh, Russia invaded Ukraine. Wow, Russia's the bad guy. Okay. You can have your beefs with Putin. I do. You can also say Gorbachev, 1990, promised George H.W. Bush, like, we're not expanding NATO, like that's that, and they're red lines, and we're not going to cross it. NATO keeps creeping. 30 years later, 35 years later, Russia's kind of finally sick of it, and they're trying to aim at Russia and just constantly cripple and destroy Russia, trying to fight proxy wars against Russia in Syria. Remember, that was the big Hillary Clinton. That's Hillary or Kerry or both of them. I lose track of those Secretary of State regimes under Biden, Obama. But General Wesley Clark, after 9/11, he's like, you know, we went to a meeting and they said, oh, well, what are we going to do about this attack? And they're like, all right, well, here, we're going to go invade these nations. And they rattled off a whole list of them. Like, these nations weren't involved, but they had a strategic plan in place. It's like, all right, we're going to overthrow this nation, overthrow this nation, overthrow this nation. Team America, World Police. Trey Parker and Matt Stone made that movie for a reason. America. Yeah. See, I used up one of my F's on one of the earlier segments, so I deleted one of my F's right there. That was for you, dear viewer, with sensitivities. But yeah, there's strategic initiatives that are put in place by these globalists, and all common sense be damned. Budgets be damned. Loss of life be damned. And this nonstop effort, like the backing of Lula to throw out Bolsonaro, then try to jail Bolsonaro. What's going on in Romania with Georgescu? Canada. How the hell did Trudeau get in there, and how the hell did he ruin that place so quickly? Globally, we have to back freedom and liberty, and we have to oppose tyranny. The New World Order are the tyrants that are doing this, the globalists. If you don't support your people being armed, when the government fears the people, you have liberty. When the people fear the government, you have tyranny. And I'll play a clip. I'm going to switch over from Instagram to our X feed in a moment here, and I'll play you some videos of people getting just stolen, kidnapped in Ukraine, conscripted, slave labor, mercenaries. This is what we're supporting. They banned elections. They banned churches. They banned media. This is what we're supporting. The Azov Nazi Battalion. This is what you're supposed to be gung-ho for? Really? I have questions. Let's let this gentleman continue. I don't quite see his name. I'd like to shout him out because he's good, but let's just let him continue.
As an example, Germany under the Greens, absolutely bonkers, becoming more dependent upon Russia because of its ridiculous energy policy, becoming more dependent upon China, and then turning around and criticizing Donald Trump when he says we've got to end this war. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense anymore. There are two things that need to happen. One is Ukraine obviously needs to be involved in the negotiated settlement. That's obvious. But the second key point is this now has to be a line in the sand. After this negotiated settlement, Europe is going to have to pay to defend itself. We cannot just rely on America, because understandably they're saying, look, we've got China. We've got our problems on the border. We've got to revitalize our economy. So I think for everybody who sat there criticizing Donald Trump, I do think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and think, actually, are we getting this right here in Europe?
And to the point that a number of, that we've heard from a number of...
Well, I was...
That was some lukewarm...
I think I'm entitled. I think...
Can I even play this? Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a quick clip, right? I think I'm entitled to the truth.
I'm entitled. I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
And my existence, while
I wish I could lower the volume and keep
grotesque and incomprehensible.
Zelensky just did not like it. I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to. Trump, Vance, energy, strong in this clip. But sometimes a quick clip like kind of summarizes the energy. You can tap into a similar vibe. I played you the one, I don't know what movie that was. It was Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. It was like, all right, yeah, we're going to go in there and play good cop, bad cop. But Will Ferrell thought he might play bad cop, bad cop.
Invincible to you saves lives.
The ambassador of Ukraine shaking their head. You saw that picture of that lady? She's just kind of like, oh no, oh no. And she's like just rubbing her, is getting a headache, an instant headache, going, oh no.
I have neither the time nor the inclination.
Lives. I don't have time or the inclination
to explain myself to a man who
to a little pissant like you. You want me on that wall, you need me on that wall.
Rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom.
Aha! See, I just want to play you the whole clip, but I don't want to get the damn copyright ding. So I'm breaking it up. Go watch A Few Good Men, you know.
That I provide, and then question.
You benefit from the blanket of protection that we provide, and then you question the means with which we use to get there.
Since the manner in which I provide it.
I mean, the energy of this is similar.
I would rather you just said thank you.
Right? That's a little bit of gratitude. I need 250 more billions. I need you to shut the heck up. I edited myself there again, too. I get angry thinking about that Zelensky guy. He could have called a ceasefire years ago, and he chose not to. So much of this is on him. Well, Putin started it. They overthrew Ukraine in 2014 to put a puppet in to push for this stuff. You got played, Zelensky. You got used by the deep state Democrats. Sorry. We here in America can't stand the deep state Democrats. That's why we voted them out. And as soon as we're able to switch to paper ballots, same-day voting, signature verification, and get rid of the illegal alien invasion that's conquered this nation, or has at least tried to under the Obama doctrine, we threw these bums out on their asses. And if we get control of our elections, I don't think they're going to win another election anywhere. Anywhere. Radical California, radical New York. Let's see how many ballots are actual people. What do we find? 60 million fake Americans getting Social Security? 60 million extra phantom people. Payments going to nobody in particular. Government jobs, they're saying that there's nobody checking emails. There's nobody working. Are these even people? Are these illegal aliens getting checks, and then you're getting the checks and you're giving them crumbs? What the hell's going on? America has been rudderless without a functional engine, holes in the sails, and a pirate at the helm for a long time. And that shit's changing. I would have rather you just said thank you.
And went on your way.
And went on your way. Zelensky was 5 to 10 minutes away, one question away from just getting what he wanted and moving along. And he couldn't do it.
I think I'm entitled. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, Trump, Vance, energy strong in this clip. So here you are. Unwoke Thoughts saying this. Anthony Blinken, Victoria. Yeah, this is a whole laundry list of people that need to be indicted. Anthony Blinken. Is it Anthony or Anthony? I've seen Zelensky spelled with 2 Y's. I've seen it spelled with 1 Y. Anthony Blinken with a T-O-N-Y and a T-H-O-N-Y. Anthony Blinken, Victoria Nuland, Susan Rice, and Alexander Vindman advised Zelensky to reject Trump's Ukraine deal. Logan Act violations. Does America ever actually indict the bad guys anymore? Yeah. Obama's team, Blinken, Nuland, Rice, Vindman, advised Zelensky to reject the deal in violation of the Logan Act. Richard Gunnell says this is very serious. It is very serious.
What we know is...
Did I play this one? Did I start with that? Yes, I did.
And so what we are...
Okay, I'm done here with my...
Well, I was looking around social media.
I think I'm entitled.
There we go. All right, we're done with our clips on here. Let's bounce over to our profile on X. Make sure you're following us. We do stream... Whoop, share this tab instead. We're at American_media_. This is pinned to our file here. I want to show you just the intro. This is Hurricane Helene, help on the way. Is it going to give me... Okay. This is a documentary. Blake Wally and myself went to Western North Carolina, drove through Tennessee and into Western North Carolina to see the damage and make a donation run. At the end, you'll see people that donated cash contributions that went directly to Grizzly and his team. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, the gasoline expenses just to do it, let alone the time and effort and energy and all of the supplies. Like, that was awesome. And we had several sponsors that loaded my SUV full of supplies. If I had a tractor trailer, they would have filled it up. Lowe's was awesome. Lowe's was all about that life. They were fantastic. Dick's Sporting Goods, Advanced Auto Parts, they were great donating. But yeah, I just want to share this with you. It's pinned at the top of our X feed. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's a 30-minute documentary, just kind of showing you, here's a little trailer for it, and then you'll get into the project. It's important. We can't forget where we've been and the work that still needs to be done here in North Carolina. The billions of dollars being burned, being sucked down the drain in Ukraine should be spent repairing America. Pay off our debt and taking care of our people. I am so sick of what's been going on this planet. Enough is enough. Help these people.
There was no notifications going to your phone, like an Amber Alert, like evacuate. I get alerts from Denny's. There actually was a bunch of houses right here that are here now. You can see, look how big the river is, like the riverbed. Holy.
And that riverbed was enormous. And this was, you could see that there were houses, and it was just wiped clean. This stuff was all just demolished. It was stunning. And in this clip, you sort of see it, but not all of it. But yeah, he's familiar with this area and took it. He's like, oh my God.
Like an Amber Alert, like evacuate. I get alerts from Denny's. There actually was a bunch of houses right here that are here now. You can see, look how big the river is, like the riverbed. Holy. Look at this Dollar General, bro.
It blesses your heart to see the way people have come together.
Yeah. I heard like 4 different people talking about like how everybody's just worried this initial hop's gonna die away and people are just gonna forget about it. And really none of these communities can afford to be forgotten.
None of those families can afford to be forgotten. So please check out the check out the link. Consider making a contribution. There's links at the end there to anyone involved. All right, let's go through our X feed. Yeah, we do stream. We broadcast on X, so you can watch us there. Yeah. So Benny Johnson reporting that Pam Bondi says she will be finding and firing the individual who held the Epstein documents from her. I want to review everything before I make a conclusion. I will find out who they are, and they will not be working for us anymore. I could play you the clip, but no. What the hell? Why isn't this person being charged with obstruction? Firing this person does nothing, and it sends a message to everyone else that if you're a part of covering up the largest child trafficking operation ever, nothing will happen to you. Wrong message, bad move. I completely agree. 100% agree. Laura Loomer reports, everyone knows that I don't make claims unless I have the hard receipts. Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney General, was a registered foreign lobbyist on behalf of Qatar. She was compensated $115,000 per month by Qatar. They've given over $1.8 billion to Hamas over the years. Well, that's odd. Oh, and then she blocked Laura Loomer, the appointed Attorney General of the United States, because she's holding her accountable for lying about releasing the Epstein files. Wait how you find out how she lobbied for Qatar, the same Qatar that harbors Hamas. Let's listen to this energy here.
Wait. So let me get this right, Pam Bondi. You're going to fire a treasonous traitor that's inside the DOJ or the FBI? You're going to fire them? How are you, working in the DOJ, going to fire somebody in the FBI? Number one.
It's a perp walk. You go into their home at 4 in the morning with the CNN crew there. You make an example out of them. You fire them? No, you don't. You indict them. You charge them and you jail them. Lack of teeth is why they keep doing this shit.
Number two, fire these criminals are protecting and interfering with an ongoing investigation into the most prolific serial sex trafficker and child rapist of all time. There has never been a man who has sold and trafficked more women that we've caught that filmed himself and every other criminal that he sold children to on camera. And you're telling me that there's somebody at the FBI or the DOJ that's somehow interfering in this investigation and you're going to fire them? And we're supposed to go, yay, Pam Bondi, you did it. You fired him. Way to go. Go get him, Pam Bondi. That'll teach the next one a lesson. What fucking planet do these people live on, and how fucking stupid do they think we are? Why the fuck are people not getting arrested, Pam Bondi? Why the fuck do we not have the Epstein list? Who are you protecting? You were the Attorney General of Florida when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested for the second time for raping and trafficking children and women. And this time it was on an island. And you guys were filmed carrying out boxes and boxes of documents, videotapes, all of it, all of the evidence. Where the fuck is it? What the fuck are you guys doing? You guys are embarrassing this nation. Everybody is watching what you guys are doing right now. It's not 2016. Your Sean Hannity 5-second clips aren't going to fucking cut it anymore. Sincerely, the American people, the taxpayers that pay your bills, that pay your salary.
Yeah. Yeah, Pam Bondi claims she was lied to and wasn't given the Epstein files. That was a lie. According to Loomer, she lied. Don't let her blame someone else. What a massive cluster that was at the White House. Oh, we're going to have the Epstein release. All right, good. It's about fucking... We've been waiting 6 years. 6 years for this. To finally hold these demons accountable. The deep state running these honeypot traps to drug people and get them to do things that they regret and they are embarrassed by, and their family lives will be ruined. They'll be shamed publicly if they don't go along with the plot. The demonic energy needed to run these child rape organizations, just so you can have a little bit of power and control, is beyond comprehension. The demons who participated in this must be held accountable, or else, I mean, we're just done. We're just toast. We're just absolutely toast as a species. I've been generally impressed and excited about the people that Trump has named to the positions that he has. I think Bobby Kennedy is going to make it could potentially make an enormous difference. Huge difference. Lukewarm on Rubio. And look, Rubio couldn't deliver a deal. Zelensky backstabbed him. All right. Can blame only a little bit of that on Rubio, but it is what it is. This Pam Bondi thing. Releasing the Epstein files only to not release the Epstein files was a double-barreled middle finger to us. She wasn't given all of it. You should see the smoke coming out of my ears right now. These people have to be exposed. We have no nation. We have no freedom. We have no liberty. We have no future if we don't. If they get away with this, we're done. We're just toast. We are... I might never be more black-pilled than I feel right now if they get away with this. All indications show Pam's working for the other team. And then you got to say, why did Trump put her there? Ilhan Omar, is Trump on that list? Why would Trump put someone there that's not going to put the Epstein list out? He said it over and over. He's going to release it. Is he? And who was running that? The deep state? The deep state. Whoever they are. Ugh. Loomer says that Bondi lied. Don't let her blame someone else. She needs to resign, and MAGA needs to call for her resignation. She cannot be trusted to be as an AG now. Pam Bondi got caught lying about the Epstein files. Now she's scrambling for excuses. First, they were on her desk. Now she never got them. Which is it, Pam? MAGA doesn't need swamp creatures pretending to fight for justice while covering for the elite. She needs to resign now. I'm over it. She said the files were on her desk a week and a half ago. Then she told Waters she'd release some of the files. Now she's saying she does not have the files. That means she lied to everyone on purpose when she said she had the files. And it means every single one of the social media influencers who went to the White House and got an Epstein binder willingly lied when they said they received Epstein files. No, I mean, look, you're given what you're given. You got what you got. That's not on the influencers. Stop, to everybody out there, respectfully. Stop piling on the social media influencers as if they did something wrong. They were given what they were given. What they were given is on Bondi. Because logically speaking, how can you receive Epstein files and then post about it and lie to all of your supporters when Pam Bondi herself went on Fox News last night saying she doesn't have the files? This is proof every single influencer who posted from the White House deliberately lied to all of you. We will probably never get the files. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. All the influencers did was showed you what they had. And that's on Bondi. Let's not turn into a circular firing squad. Kind of like this. Elon posted this. The reality of war. Here's the chessboard. Just all the pieces toppled over. Bloodstained chessboard here. Meanwhile, the king and the queen are having a nice fancy dinner. Elon says the EU leaders and Zelensky having fancy dinners while men die in trenches. How many parents will never see their son again? How many children will never see their father? So let's not turn into a circular firing squad of conservative, libertarian, constitutionalist, Republican, MAGA type leaders and voting bloc. Let's not turn on each other. All they had was what they had. I don't understand. If someone can explain it to me, tell me what irredeemable sin an influencer committed by getting a file and holding up a file document, a binder, and holding up the binder. And then showing you what they had. What did they do? They were given what they were given. Now, if they made the redactions, that's on them. Bondi giving us a document that we already had, and the document we had far less redactions. And then hiding behind the cover. It's hiding behind the cover of, oh, well, we have to protect the victims. We know these were victims. Nobody's going to shame the people for being abused in this case. If their names are released, like they're a part of a horrible story. Yeah, protect them if you can, but like hiding behind, well, we have to redact everything for the victims when you're really just covering up and trying to hide who's implicated. That's as low as hiding behind a Gold Star parent. As a Gold Star parent running their mouth on some ridiculous nonsense only because they were put up to it by the Democrat Party to attack a Republican. Because they know hold on. Are you attacking this Gold Star mother? Are you attacking this Gold Star father? How dare you, Mr. Republican, Mrs. Republican? They're a Gold Star. You're disrespecting our military? No. They ran their mouth on some stupid shit that you put them up to because you thought they were bulletproof. Obama weaponized every department in his federal government because he thought he was bulletproof, invincible. You don't get a magic force field around you because of who you sleep with, because of the melanin in your skin, your demographic, the ethnicity of your parents. There's no, because your kid was killed, unfortunately, while in the military service. You don't get a force field. You don't get a cloak of invisibility. You're judged on the stuff you say. All right, David. What's up, David? You're saying he brings crooked people into the light. He being Trump or Elon? Because I got the picture of Elon up. Once again, for all the commenters, I love all your comments. But try to think as you type the thing, if it's a full sentence, it doesn't need to be a long sentence or a paragraph, but if I can just glance at it and double check, then I'll always get your full understanding of the comment, because I move fast and I talk about 20 things. You might be talking about something 17 points ago, and I might just now be catching up to it. But I think you're talking about Trump bringing things to light, bringing crooked people to light. Well, is Pam Bondi crooked? Is she going to be thrown out on her ass? If so, I'd like to know who is on deck to replace her because I'm ready to go to the bullpen. I've seen enough. I don't like Bondi at all. I'm done. You know that famous train thing where you could flip the switch, but it'll have to injure people over here or kill people here? You can set the tram at any moment, but you refuse because you need guarantees that it won't start moving again in a few years. Damn. Now that's a play on that meme. Here's a massive riot. Thousands of poets calling for the resignation of globalist, treacherous government. More than 500 illegal alien invaders arrived in Greece by boat every day. It's an invasion. Are you okay with your... Oh, hold on. The riots are not about globalist government, but about no changes having taken place since a deadly train crash 2 years ago. What the hell is this? Protest, violent confrontation for justice, lack of action on authorities, chanted murderers. After a rail disaster. Okay, so they're saying this is about a... All right. So there's context on that one. I appreciate context. Let's contrast what FEMA was set up for and where your money was being stolen to, money laundered to.
Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to know how much. And I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. Your tax.
They're trying to change the demographics of this nation permanently. Blue cities, blue states have lost millions and millions and millions of great people, great MAGA people who said, I cannot subject myself to this backward blue state bullshit anymore. Backward, deep state bullshit. Backward blue state bullshit. That's a triple B score. Ding, ding. They fled Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. They went to Florida, Tennessee, Texas. And so they're like, there was currently how they're counting the census. They're counting illegal alien invaders somehow. Nuh-uh. That needs to be changed immediately. While you have the Supreme Court, bring it up, get a ruling. If you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote. If you're not a homeowner in this homeowners association, you don't get to vote in the annual elections. Period. You're here illegally? Hell no, you don't get to vote. In fact, you get jail. You get to go home. Don't sneak into the movie theater and expect to watch every movie in here all day long. You're taking that seat from someone else that needs it. And so the Obama doctrine has been to flood sovereign nations with residents that are not theirs. Flood Ireland with non-Irish. Flood Sweden with non-Swedes. Flood England with non-English. Flood America with non-Americans. Flood Canada with non-Canadians. That's their goal. Dumping over a full pot, an entire bucket full of Central America, South America, Middle East, Africa, China, parts unknown. And those days are done. They have to be done. There is no, that's an effort to blur lines, blur languages, blur customs, blur traditions, blur exceptionalism. No. We're not doing that. We're not going to have one new world order. It's not just going to be one homogenized thing where you have no ability to vote out anybody because there's one omnipotent ruler who rules upon high and we're all just peons in their zoo. No thanks. It has to be turned over. DC Drano said Zelensky showed up in sweatpants to the White House. He called J.D. Vance a bitch, sucka, under his breath. I'd love to get confirmation on that. I've seen that reported, but I have not seen someone who speaks Ukrainian watch that clip and say, yes, I can confirm he called him a bitch. Because if we can confirm that, I've seen it reported. But I'm skeptical that that's exactly what that was. Maybe it's ambiguous. Can someone illuminate? Has that been verified, or is there subjective? Is that subjective? Zelensky rudely spoke over President Trump, and then he made an explicit threat against America. You have big ocean, but soon you will learn you're not. Don't tell me what I'm going to feel. You're telling me what? You're threatening me how? I heard what you just said. I know who you just met with. All the demons. Rice and Blinken and Vindman. Cutting aid to Ukraine is only the beginning. He should be severely punished. Yeah, and he may be removed. We were talking about gaining sovereignty over your ballots. This video here, it says, thank you to Senator Colton Moore, Steve Gooch, and Greg Dolezal. Georgia is taking measures to never allow 2020 to happen again.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, as President Donald Trump's floor leader, I know many of you listen to everything that President Trump says, and you may have noticed a week or two ago, President Trump asked for paper ballots, and I have a piece of legislation that accomplishes that very thing. It will be on my desk back there if anybody would like to sign it. Democrats or Republicans, remember it was 2019 that Democrats were advocating for paper ballots. So I hope you'll, go back to those ways of 2019 and we can all have fair and free elections. Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, thank you, Mr. President.
Bravo. That's what we need everywhere. We need to have nationwide standards. Let's take a listen to this clip about Zelensky with his perspective.
Republicans are pretty happy what happened. Let's not make sure we don't have the revisionist history.
Kind of quiet.
Donald Trump was responding to a reporter's question asking about whether or not, Putin. Donald Trump responded to that. He said, next question, one more question. J.D. Vance then piggybacked off of what Donald Trump was saying, and he was talking about the importance of diplomacy. And what he specifically was saying is that negotiating with one side, which is what the United States and Europe has done this entire time, not inviting Putin to the negotiating table, J.D. Vance was talking about that's how Donald Trump views diplomacy. It was Zelensky then who then turned to J.D. Vance and said, J.D., not Vice President Vance, J.D.
Yeah. Calling him J.D., not Mr. Vance, Mr. Vice President, it was an emasculating backhand. Just to call him J.D. I don't think you're on first name basis, pal. I don't think anyone likes you. I don't think your people like you. I don't think the deep state likes you. They're using you. And just calling him JD, I agree.
To ask him a question. There wasn't a reason.
That's a good point. I noticed that when I first watched it. I've noted it every time it happens that it was a little bitch. It was a little backhand. But I'm glad he articulated that because I hadn't verbalized that yet. Calling him JD, let me ask you a question. Have you been to Ukraine?
Reason for him to ask J.D. Vance anything. I thought that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance did exactly what they needed to do in that moment because he was surely disrespectful and he responded to it. I thought that they did exactly what they should have done. Bravo to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
There you go. Malik Abdul, is that the guy in here? Is that this guy?
Are pretty happy what happened. Let's not.
Don't be gaslit. Zelensky broke protocol and decided to debate Vice President Vance on President Trump's diplomatic worldview. That's how this started. He was out of line and disrespectful. Trump and Vance did exactly what needed to be done. Bravo indeed. Mike Benz here saying, spoiler, here's why Norway dissed the United States Navy today after the Zelensky affair. We talked about this earlier, that Norway did not allow an American submarine to fill up. This is bad. This is bad. I can't really articulate exactly why it's bad. Because it's bigger. I can't really articulate why I can't articulate it. It's a little story. But to me, it's a huge story. And I'm trying to figure out why I know it's a huge story. And I'm waiting for the right perspective so that I can articulate it properly. Norway is one of the biggest windfall profit winners of the war with Russia, making at least $60 billion in just year one of the war off Norway's oil and gas, replacing Russia's oil and gas supply to Europe. Wow. Okay. Then maybe that's what's going on here. And look, this goes to your point, David. Trump is bringing crooked people to the light. The cockroaches hate sunlight. And so when you bring attention to stuff, whoo, oh, they get triggered and they out themselves. That's what they out themselves. You told on yourself. Russia exited. Norway became Europe's energy provider here. The energy champion. Petoro oversees 36 of the largest oil and natural gas fields in Europe on Norway's petroleum-rich continental shelf. They've been instrumental. Russia throttled back natural gas exports. Norway dialed them up. Okay. All right. So that's what it is then. It's for money. And they said with Norway in the news, here's a clip from a fantastic 45-minute video of the geopolitics in Norway and why it's so much clout in NATO and European affairs. Spoiler, it's one of the largest exporters of oil and largest beneficiaries of the Grand Ukraine Energy Plan. Is this the real account? I would like to ask Elon again, if there's a way that we could. The check mark doesn't mean verified anymore. It just means that like you pay for the X premium account or whatever it's called. I think we need to get back to an account that will show you when something claiming to be something is the actual thing. Can't tell you how many fake Tom Homan borders are commentary things that I scroll across. I'm like, oh, is that what's going? Oh, wait, that's a parody site. They're making a joke, or that's just someone pretend. I don't like them pretending to be someone. And the blue check mark used to be that. Now it's not. So I'd like to see a real blue check mark back. Am I missing? What's this? What's that little thing there? What was that other dot? Oh, is that? Now this says conservative. Why did I get on conservative? Where am I at? What's this say? Okay, that says conservative. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, update in Maine, as I mentioned from an earlier post, a massive turnout formed to protest against Governor Mills going against President Trump's orders. America stands with the women in Maine. Keep the men out of women's sports. Yeah, it's common sense. If you're not going to support women competing against women only, I don't know how to continue engaging with somebody who's going to take that perspective.
This is a war that should have never happened.
RFK Jr. on the Ukraine war.
It's a war that Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine.
Yes, darkness to light indeed. That's what we try to do here at the New American Media. We just try to take what's happening and make sense of it all. Trying to be a shining light in a weird social media landscape. I think we try to give you a really well-rounded perspective of what's going on in the world. We do our best with very limited resources. We've done our best for 14 years now.
The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 million. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We've committed another 24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another 60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war.
And damn the people that blocked Trump from building the wall in 2016, 17. Oh, $5 billion. We don't have that. We've sent $350 billion to get sucked down the drain, sold on the black market so that they could arm cartels on our own border against us. You do not hate the deep state enough. You do not hate them enough. What drives me so much, and it's the reason why I've kind of set sports on the back burner a little bit. So I love talking sports. Look, anybody that wants to make a donation to the New American Media, we have these right here. This is our sports show, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. These are Ohio-made wooden coasters, laser engraved, burned, 4 of them per pack, 25 a piece. It includes shipping. No, they're 30 a piece. And then the pin. There's a pin in here. That's the New American Media pin. Well, that's the back of it. Anyway, I love talking about sports. Sports is like, oh, I get to have fun and talk about athletic achievement and stuff. And, I find it very hard to dedicate almost any hour of my day to the frivolity of sports. Bread and circuses while the country is burning. While we're being destroyed from the inside out, we're rotting. We've been injected with poison, and we have a limited amount of time to save ourselves before we're done. We're going to be toast because these vultures are circling. All they do in the deep state, they feast like maggots on the corpse of anything that they can. Oh, Zelensky in Ukraine. Yeah, you're getting played. You should have called a ceasefire 2 years ago and stopped this madness, but you believed the deep state. Never believed the deep state. This is a battle, an ultimate battle between good and evil. This is demons versus angels. This is good versus bad. This is epic. This is biblical. This is transcendental. This is red lights flashing. And that's why I've had to dedicate so much of me during the past 14 years to the New American Media to try and push back on the Obama doctrine. And by the way, I've just now committed. I am going to write the Obama doctrine. I talk about it all the time. But I don't see anybody using that phrase. I'm not familiar with it. And it sums up how we got here. Obama, the puppet of the globalists, taking us off the cliff like in Thelma and Louise. Taking us on a rocket ship to the sun. Like we're toast. They've tied a cinder block to us and tossed to a rope and then wrapped that around our waist and tossed us over a boat. We don't have time left to be arguing over the fringe issues that they keep us divided on. Who you sleep with, the amount of melanin in your skin, where your parents came from, the genitalia between your legs. Nobody gives a fuck. No smart person does. Being divided by all of these tiny little criteria. Humanity is at stake. God, I saw a clip with Bill Gates talking about how humans aren't going to be needed in AI and reducing the population. And he said something like, we'll get to decide. We'll decide. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like the Georgia Guidestones. We're going to decide. There's something creepy going on. And you know it. You feel it in your bones, too. That's why you watch this show. And it's obvious. But that's why it's been all hands on deck. Everything we got with what we have while we can. I told John McAfee, and I keep telling myself to create this clip, but I don't know how to grab the... I need some video editing help, honestly. If I had a production team, I would upload all the videos, and I could just say, hey, pull up that thing and do the thing and make a short out of it. But I talked to John McAfee before he died. And as Mitch Hedberg would say, every conversation with John McAfee would be before he died. Mitch Hedberg has a joke. He goes, my friend handed me a photograph the other day. He goes, hey, man, here's a picture of me when I was younger. I said, every picture is a picture of you when you were younger. Ain't it about time someone said that? So every conversation I had with John McAfee was before he was dead, of course. Although I am aware that they did kind of bring him back with AI, and there's like this John McAfee thing going on now. But I just told it like this was during the Vault 7 leak, WikiLeaks dump, and the quote from McAfee was the CIA just got nuked, and we wrapped up the conversation. There's the last time I talked. I think it was the last time I talked to him. Met him a couple times. Interviewed him a couple times. And I said, I don't know. I am being called to media because I have a feeling in my heart, in my soul, in my gut that if I have a chance to speak with my maker when I'm done with this earthly experience, I want to be able to look at my maker in the eye and say, I tried. I gave what I had with what I had at the time. I tried. I tried to be something as a force for goodness in this world full of so much bullshit, so much demonic activity. I tried. Did I make the impact I could have? Was I optimally efficient? Did I reach as many people? I don't know. I don't know my impact, what the butterfly effect is 14 years in of this, but I tried. And it's good versus evil. And I can't stand by and just watch this stuff happening without putting my opinion out there. I think my opinion is well-rounded. I think it's bringing something to the table that's lacking in a lot of conversations. So anyway, back to RFK talking about after the war, when it really began.
When we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme.
Yep.
And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan?
By the way, I love what social media does now. If I play a clip like this, because I'm listening to Kennedy talk, if there's very light, generic, non-licensed music, they'll find a way to attribute it to someone and censor the video so it can't be shared. That's what YouTube Google does. I bet if I was playing a video that had gentle piano behind it, but it was some globalist bullshit talking point, they'd let it slide. I just have a hunch.
Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us.
It's like the Halliburton of yesteryear.
They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other.
Yep.
They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
That's how they get away with it. President Trump with a very simple message here.
I refuse to bend the knee to their next endless war in Ukraine. I want peace. They want money and they want conflict, even if it means walking us into the brink of World War III, which frankly it is doing, and it's doing it rapidly. I refuse.
Yeah. All right. The NIH here. Cheryl Atkinson reporting. This is off of 2006 CBS News, flu shots in seniors. That time, a definitive government study concluded that flu shots don't work in the elderly and didn't make a difference with mortality in any age group. The more of the elderly population that got flu shots, the more the death rate increased. NIH wouldn't give permission to any of the study authors to do an interview with me. Why? Step 2 of sending me down the rabbit hole on vaccines and government cover-ups. Thomas Massey getting tagged here. Massey's one of the good guys. Steve Kirsch, this can never be reposted enough. The NIH determined the flu vaccines don't work, so they ordered their scientists not to talk to the press. Please repost. This is allegedly a soldier in Ukraine being asked.
I really think situation not really good for me. It's we're all tired. We're all tired. We wanna peace.
We lack. We need manpower. We need equipment. The main thing is the abundance of Russian equipment. There's just too much. There's too many soldiers and stuff. But yet we're holding the line. Somehow we're holding it.
It's really hard. It's really hard. We don't have enough people.
So how?
I hate stupid wars. They're saying here that RFK Jr. just canceled the flu shot ad campaign, and here's why. For years, we've been told to get your flu shot every season, told it's safe, effective, and reduces severity. But what if we've been misled? Let's take a look at that. You can watch that video on your own. It's on the X feed at American_media_. I'm not familiar with this lady and not entirely certain, but if it's a news story, I'd like to dig into if that's accurate. Yeah, here's as they talk about Trump, here's what they're saying. Here's what it sounds like to me.
Do you see what that lunatic Trump has done now? No, what? He's only made a deal with Putin to end the war in Ukraine. Wow, that's amazing. I know Trump's nuts on a lot of stuff, but that's really good news for Ukraine, isn't it? It's terrible news. It is? How? Putin could go on a rampage across Europe. It could be Poland next. Did he say that? No, but it's what everyone else said. Everyone else? Well, some in NATO have said it, and all the countries that have been pouring billions into the war. What about the fact that the war really began in 2014 under a secret US-led coup with the aim of putting military bases literally on Putin's doorstep as a part of the NATO expansion trying to get Ukraine into NATO, even though George Bush Sr. in the 90s had said that that would never happen? We don't like to talk about that. Okay, so have Ukraine at least been winning the war so far? No, they've been losing. I get it. You're upset with Trump because Ukraine should keep fighting because they still have the troops to win the war. No, they're actually running out of men. They're all getting killed. But if Ukraine will lose all of their men, then how will they win? The West need to keep sending support. We all have to stand with Ukraine. It's the right thing to do. I commend your ethics. So, following your logic through to the end, when Ukraine do finally start to run out of troops, then we should start sending our own sons and daughters to the front line to fight Putin. No, we won't do that. But you just said we all have to stand with Ukraine? Yeah, I said stand with them, not fight alongside them. That would be suicide. So when you say standing with them, what you really mean is sticking the Ukraine flag on your Facebook profile and 100% not standing with them physically on the battlefield where it actually counts? Now you're getting it. Also, saying you stand with someone is a popular thing to do. It's good to be popular. But isn't that what Trump does?
It's so hard to unravel. Let's listen to Secretary Bessent talking about what happened during this botched deal where Zelensky fumbled the bag.
President Trump sent me there to, again, we were supposed to bring the Ukrainian people closer to the U.S. people, send a strong signal to Russian leadership that we they had not only shared values, but now shared economic interest, and also have a strong signal for the American people that their tax dollars were actually going to work. Instead, President Zelensky and I had a very tough 45-minute meeting at a very loud decibel level, and I kept telling him, Mr. President, the purpose of this is to show the Russians there is no daylight between us. And at the end of the meeting, he said, well, I'm not signing this. And I said, at the end of the meeting, I said to him, what do you want to go out and tell the press? I said, because I don't want to go out and show the Russians that there's daylight in between us. And he said, well, I'm going to go out and say I'll sign it in Munich. Then he got to Munich, and he ran into Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio, very different than Vice President Harris and Secretary Blinken, but he didn't sign the agreement. So finally, we were supposed to have the signing today. It was supposed to be a great day, and this is one of the biggest own goals in diplomatic history.
Well, it's madness. I don't like how Zelensky threatens us. He's always threatened us. No, I don't consider it a language barrier. I think this little rat threatens us. I don't like him.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war, and they will have to fight because it's NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying, God forbid, because it's a horrible thing.
Number one, Ukraine is not a NATO nation. No, we're not. No, we're not sending our sons and daughters. Screw you, pal. Screw you. You're in way over your head and you need to back off, but you lack the hubris. You have your ego is too wrapped up in this, and you're believing your own hype. Don't threaten us. Don't you dare threaten us. Ugh. And by the way, secondary point, I will agree with Adam Carolla. I've heard him say this a couple times in the past couple weeks. When you have a translator, it needs to be the sex of the person that's talking. When you overdub The Simpsons to go into Mexico, you don't have a dude playing Marge Simpson's voice. You don't have a chick, a chica in the Mexican Simpsons playing Homer Simpson. Guys with guys, girls with girls. It's confusing. It's weird. It is. I'll go another step further. When I'm watching the NBA, I would like to hear men as commentators. When I hear a lot of these women commentators, it throws off the vibe of the sporting contest. That's a preference. It's something that doesn't click. It doesn't it doesn't make sense that it's there. Every person on the field is a man. Like, you want to hear men talking about the men. Yes, anybody can. It doesn't mean that it's pleasant to my ears. It doesn't mean that it's good for the game. That's just a personal preference. I don't care. Like, I'm not rallying. I'm not picketing. I'm not holding up signs. I don't care that much. But when I heard Adam Carolla talking about, what was it, the Prime Minister of Japan or something, and it had a lady, I actually made a comment. It reminded me of Ben Blanks or something. He's a comedian in Canada, and he would always do this imitation of one of their health ministers. He always did this over-the-top impression. I'm like, oh my God, I thought someone was dubbing in fake language. I said, it sounds like a skit for this Ben guy. What is his name? I'm gonna look him up. Ben, comic, Canada, lady, health, voiceover. Ben Bankus. Let me see. Hang on. Where's the... Okay. It reminded me of this. Oh, wait. Is this not the clip?
That's me being positive.
That's grim. That's not nice. Well, I mean, what do you think people should do to have fun this summer?
Well, maybe try some cocaine with Chinese fentanyl in it, see how much you can do before you die.
I made the comment wherever I saw it from. I think it was Trump and the Japanese primary. Maybe it was the Pakistan, India. I thought it was Japan. I did a quick search, couldn't find it. But I thought the person that was doing the interpreting, I thought it was a Ben Bankus impersonation of Dr. Theresa Tam. I didn't think it was real. It sounded like a comedic skit. It didn't make sense. There's a guy there. What would the guy sound like if he were speaking in this language? The voice should match the character. I agree. I had that whole exchange over that. Once again, not super important, but when I'm listening to this lady, like, give me the guy's voice. You're trying to give us the illusion that I can understand and translate this guy speaking. What does he sound like? Does he have a high-pitched voice? Does he talk really fast like Ben Shapiro? Or is it more baritone? Is it more bass? And if it is, can we get somebody who can emulate that a little bit? It's just disconcerting. It throws just.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And
yeah, don't threaten America. And don't do it in a lady voice either. Just do the voice of the, like, you know, simulate it like you're doing an actual voiceover.
We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up, and I've asked
Here's President Trump talking about lumber.
Howard Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to lumber. In fact, Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to take down trees. Right now, you know, we're so restricted environmentally. We're going to be freeing it up with an emergency order. We have an emergency order, and we're going to be freeing up our forests. We have more forests than almost anybody, and great lumber, great trees. We don't need anybody's trees. We don't need trees from Canada or anybody else. In fact, we have to put the slits, as they call them, the area, you know, 50, 60-yard area in between areas of trees. It stops the fires.
Yes.
We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up, and I've asked.
Yes, you need to have fire breaks. I've said this forever. My dad worked in fire prevention, couplings and sprinklers and piping and hanging systems and stuff. I've always said, like, fill up big, you know, heavy duty balloons or like a big tube. I know, not a balloon where the forest animal walks over top of it, punctures it, and ruins it, but something that's durable, but something that'll melt when the heat of a fire comes through, and it gives you a fire break line, and it dumps all that water, and it stops it right there. Run it through the forest. Or you got to clear all of that, and then you'll have a natural fire break. Whatever the case, figure it out. George saying, President Trump just signed an executive order terminating all regulations and processes that delay the production of timber, lumber, paper, bioenergy, and other wood products. It's time to cut trees and use them to make houses and other things affordable again. The United States has, well, then that's the quote that he had. Here's Hollywood getting ready for the Oscars. Got people all passed out. There on the streets, you got to walk over them. Ranting shirtless dudes talk to themselves. Homeless people zonked out. This is California. This is Hollywood, people. It is kind of grody. These people need to be in facilities. They shouldn't be able to do stuff like this. People need help. They need some help. It's not helping anybody. This account says, I think the Oscars need to have a big Ukrainian army recruitment booth on the red carpet tonight so they can really stand with Ukraine. Stanley Kubrick. Isn't Stanley Kubrick dead? Yeah, he died in '99 after he did Eyes Wide Shut. They thought he got too close to telling you about their Elite sex orgies. Wow. Go figure. Yeah, the Oscars are tonight. And by the way, I'm super excited. Yeah, I would. Yeah, this is the growing sentiment. Pam Bondi should give the Epstein files to Ricky Gervais and have him present them at the Oscars tonight. It'd be the most watched event in human history. Best casting couch goes to Harvey Weinstein. Best enabler, Meryl Streep. Best anti-Trump nut, Robert De Niro. Best creep and predator, Woody Allen. Best child rapist, Polanski. YouTube for best censorship. Best gun control speech. Best sleep to the top, Me Too actress. Best actor and molester, Kevin Spacey. I'm excited to watch it, actually, because I like Conan O'Brien, and I haven't really seen him for a while. I used to watch his Daily Show all the time when he was on TBS. I liked it a lot. Cheryl Atkinson saying 10 things people shouldn't say, particularly if they're over the age of 16. That's so cringe, as in cringeworthy. I'm not going to lie. Are you normally a liar? The self-affirming right peppered throughout the conversation, right? That's the one I can't stand, right? They'll say something ridiculous and then they'll add this thing at the end, right? So that you'll have to kind of go along with it, right? They'll do like a bookend or they'll middle it. Oh, I can't stand that. Anyway, there's a few more, but the right one I can't stand. All right. Tim Burchett saying, if anyone leaks where the money's going when the Pentagon fails audits, what would happen?
You have a Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide. We don't ask for any accounting of. They never pass an audit in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times. You have
to accept corrupt money.
Yeah, but the problem is if you paid them a lot more, they're still not going to make as much money as they would insider trading.
But it's less of a forcing function.
Yes, it's
well. Let me put it this way: like if you say like somebody's got a, let's say they got like whatever some kids in DC and like it's expensive. It's like expensive place to live. The schools are terrible, so like they need to send their kids to like some kind of private schooling situation. They literally cannot afford that. They cannot afford that right now. So then you get into the situation. Well, from their standpoint, well, they've got to. They'll say they're doing it for their family. They're doing it for their kids.
Well, especially if it's legal, and it currently is. You kind of be silly to not do that. If you were a part of a group of people that's passing a bill, and you know this bill's going to get passed, you know the votes are there, and you know it's going to affect this industry and this particular manufacturer, and you can buy stock.
It's more than just insider trading.
It is more. It's really bad, people.
Like the insider trading stuff, like the stock portfolio stuff is quite trackable, but there's, it's a lot more than insider trading.
The way they're acquiring wealth.
Correct.
And what other methods?
I mean, this is really going to get me assassinated. It's like I'm not lengthening my lifespan by explaining this stuff, to say the least. I mean, I was supposed to go back to DC. How am I going to survive? This fucker's going to kill me for sure. In fact, I do think like it's like I actually have to be careful that I don't push too hard on the corruption stuff because it's going to get me killed.
That's where we're at, people. That's why so few people stand up. Well, here's someone standing up. Kansas, the first of 5 states, announcing new legislation.
Thank you for being here today. We brought together this press conference to make the following announcement, and that is today Kansas is filing a civil suit against the Pfizer Corporation under the Kansas Consumer Protection Act seeking enhanced civil monetary penalties, damages, and injunctive relief for misleading and deceptive statements made in marketing its COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer also violated previous consent judgments with the state of Kansas, in which Pfizer promised never to use deceptive information to market their products. Kansas's case is of a multi-state collaboration, with Kansas being the first of 5 states to file suit. Before I go further, let me put this in context. As we all know...
Anyway, you can check that out in its entirety. Here's Tulsi Gabbard giving you thoughts.
That the political establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets. Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022, when he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Now, Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power. Now, defenders of Zelensky will say, hey, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. They can't have elections. Just stop for a moment and think, if we accept that excuse or criteria for suspending the Constitution and canceling elections, then we should presume that leaders in our own country and our own establishment media will also use this same excuse and rationale when they suspend our Constitution and our elections, since we too are at war with Russia and China. Now, if you think this sounds crazy, look at what's already going on. They've already started conditioning us to accept a dictatorship by rationalizing their own use of our Department of Justice to target President Trump and other political enemies in their efforts to stay in power.
There you go. If you let them get away with it, they're going to do it everywhere. Did we? Is this the same clip?
It's more than just insider trading.
Okay. Yeah, but this is why he hasn't yet released the mother of all Twitter files and the Fauci files. Cates is saying that 8 out of 10 aircraft crashes are targeted kills. These people used a patsy to hide the real sniper that tried to shoot Trump in the head last July. And hell yeah, they'd try to kill Musk if that was the only way to keep them from being exposed and prosecuted. Clandestine here says, Zelensky's debacle is not just the end of Ukraine, it's the beginning of the end of NATO. If Trump cuts off all funding to Ukraine, the world is about to quickly realize that NATO is nothing without the United States. Without the threat of U.S. military and access to U.S. taxpayer money, NATO becomes substantially less powerful and arguably irrelevant when compared to nuclear superpowers like Russia and China. Without the threat of the U.S. military and our nuclear capabilities, NATO loses all value. Their security guarantees would become next to useless. If the U.S. under new management from Trump were to abandon NATO, the globalist war machine would lose their ability to operate and would eventually cease to exist. By the way, let me add, then beware of the false flags, because these demons do this stuff. They don't care who they kill. They don't care who they maim. They don't care what they ruin. Pictured below are the current stats on NATO spending. Without the U.S., NATO's nothing. We don't need them. They need us. We are Pac-Man. The rest of everyone else is the little dot on the screen. We are the Pac-Man. $20 million dead people on Social Security. That means 20 million eligible Democrats voting in U.S. elections. Do you know that Doge found 20 million dead people on Social Security? What?
Following are only a few of the most egregious items witnessed. I was not allowed to perform my job, and from what I observed, were any of the GOP challengers in accordance with Michigan laws. We were constantly prevented from getting close enough to see what was going on with the respect to the ballots. Procedures were not being properly followed when we brought these to the attention of the supervisors Our concerns were dismissed and ignored. We observed ballots being backdated from 11/4 to 11/2, and data being entered into the computers for these mail-in ballots. Poll workers were entering ballot information from new mail-in ballots, including dates of birth of 1/1/1900.
1/1/1900. Yeah. This is the Oversight Committee in Binsfield office building in Lansing, Michigan.
Electronic poll books and processing those ballots for tabulation. The information wasn't in either the electronic poll book or the paper supplement book prior to that. There's been lots and lots of reports after the election counting process.
Anyway, you can finish that video later, but yeah, 20 million dead people on Social Security. I thought the number was 30, actually. Mike Lee is saying that Elon told us the other day the U.S. government has issued 4.6 million credit cards to government employees. But there's a problem. The U.S. government only has 2.2 million employees. So more than double the amount of people are credit cards floating out there. Yeah. Obama's team, Blinken, Newland, Rice, and Vindman, advising Zelensky to reject Trump's deal in violation of the Logan Act. Richard Grinnell says this is very serious. More than 500,000 patriots conquered Bucharest in protest to the cancellation of Georgescu's election. Romania has had enough. Keep your eye on that. And then, yeah, Jeffrey Miller says, let me get this straight. Western Europe and Britain, which didn't have the guts or ability to keep millions of Islamist invaders out of their countries, now think they'll have the guts and ability, without U.S. support, to fight a prolonged war against Russia, a nation of 144 million people, which has 5,500 nuclear warheads, 1.5 million soldiers, 11 ballistic missile submarines, and 50 strategic bombers, which spends $140 billion a year on its military. But they didn't have the guts to defend their nation from an invasion. Hey, let's go in the Wayback Machine here as we're just about ready to wrap it up. If there's any story you'd like to hear me comment on that I haven't touched on, please type it in the comments. David says insider trading, regarding a story a couple stories ago, says insider trading was one of the many ways that they make their criminal money. Yeah. Why is it allowed? Why is it allowed? Why can you go right from the lobbying firm into government into lobbying? Where's the waiting period? The people running the pharmaceutical companies, they're in the government, then they go from government to the pharmaceutical companies. It's just an orgy. The same orgies you'll find at a Diddy party or on Epstein Island are the same ones in federal government in DC. Ask Madison Cawthorn, by the way. But let's go in the Wayback Machine, and listen to John McCain in 2013 prior to the overthrow in Ukraine. Let's listen.
Joining me now, Senator John McCain, who I know, Senator, you have just addressed the crowd of protesters there yourself in Kiev. What is it you're trying to do here?
Hopefully what we're trying to do is bring about a peaceful transition here that would stop the violence, would give the Ukrainian people what they unfortunately have not, with different revolutions that have taken place, a real legitimate society. This is a grassroots.
So according to McCain, Ukraine was an illegitimate society because they didn't get to control it.
Revolution here. It's been peaceful except for when the government tried to crack down on them, and the government hasn't done that since. But I'm praising their ability and their desire to demonstrate peacefully for change that I think they deserve.
Let me ask you this about the...
Let me try to get my timeline straight. 2013, Obama was elected in 2008, began his term in 2009. 9, 10, 11, 12, he wins the election, takes over in 2013, and as soon as Obama... Remember when Obama told the Russian... who was it? He wasn't talking to Putin. It was Obama talking to the Russian delegate, and he said, I'll have more latitude after my last election. And so as soon as he gets installed again, I don't think Obama won that second term either. I think he was declared the winner, But I'd love to see what happens if you have same-day voting, signature verification on super rare occasion mail-in ballots, vote in person, signature verification, and ID requirements. As soon as Obama began his second term, and I do believe it is theoretically possible, maybe, that Obama won in 2008, maybe. I don't think these big blue states are actual big blue states. I think they found a way to make massive population centers where they can sign a bunch of people up and create enough ballots to dominate enough to overthrow the rest of the will of the people outside of those 2 or 3 big cities in their states. I have no proof of that other than common sense. Why would you vote against your own interest all the time? Anyway, so in 2013, this is when they're pushing for the revolution. Obama's back in office. He's like, all right, I'm on easy street now. Now I can cruise. Let's let it rip. Because this might have been too upsetting of the apple cart in the first term. But once he's in there in 2013, here we go.
U.S. role, I know that you have wanted the administration perhaps to consider sanctions, something to help boost the anti-government protesters. The question to you is, while we're trying to work on so many things with the Russians, for instance, with Iran and in Syria, is this really a good time for the U.S. to be taking on Russia?
Well, I don't think that we would be taking on Russia. And by the way, I am very pleased with Secretary Kerry's statement. Our Deputy Secretary Victoria Nuland, who was here.
Oh my God! All the cast of criminals, all the cast of characters in alignment.
Look, these people love the United States of America. They love freedom.
Freedom to overthrow every other nation, to money launder hundreds of billions of dollars and kill hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, they love freedom.
And I don't think you could view this as anything but our traditional support for people who want a free and democratic society.
The democratic society that banned radio stations and television and news agencies that if they're anti-Zelensky, the one that banned churches and religions, ones that are conscripting and stealing people off the streets, kidnapping them to force them into the meat grinder to come home in body bags, stealing humans and just leaving their dogs out to roam alone by themselves. Have you seen the videos?
We're not talking about military action. We're not talking about blockades.
You're not talking about military action. $350 billion to Ukraine for military action that we're orchestrating with Zelensky as the puppet.
We are talking about the possibility of sanctions if they continue to brutally repress their people.
Brutally repress the people.
That would require some action on our part, just because that's what the United States of America is all about.
Yeah, that is what we're all about. They're saying a man in England notified an officer's coming to his home to do a check to ensure that you have a TV license. The hell, England. Roger Stone reporting that in 2022, Sophia Quintanar, a state employee, sued New York Attorney General Letitia James, chief of staff, for sexual assault. Sued Letitia James for covering it up, and James asked the appeals court to dismiss the suit and was denied. Yesterday, this lawsuit is settled with taxpayer money, yet it includes a non-disclosure agreement in violation of the law. Letitia James covered up sexual assault, according to Roger Stone. James Carville just committed. He thinks Trump has syphilis because he argued with Zelensky in the Oval Office. Called him a disgusting fat F. Okay. Doge canceled 128 contracts for $60 million in savings, including a $3.5 million consulting contract for larval fish monitoring that the Bureau of Reclamation identified as non-essential. Luke Radowski once again saying, well, it's Epstein list day. Again. Yeah, and we're going to have to grade hiring of Pam Bondi as an F at this point. And wonder if you have a backup in case you need to go to the bullpen and replace her. If she lacks the instincts and gravitas necessary to do what needs to be done, she must be replaced. Kurt Schemmer's weird. Zelensky doesn't know where $150 billion of missing U.S. aid went, but he sure can find military-aged men in the streets. Yesterday in the Oval Office, Vance responded to Zelensky's refusal to engage in diplomacy. Here, I'll turn this down. With Putin. Sound down. That's what I just said. Sound down. It is a lot. Zelensky's refusal to engage in diplomacy with Putin by pointing out that Ukraine is having to kidnap military-aged men off the streets to fill its army. I never really shared these videos until yesterday, and my son mentioned that he had never seen them. There are scores of them being shared by folks like, others. Now, I don't know if all of these are kidnappings to be conscripted to go into the military. I'm not entirely certain. Some of these could be other things, but these don't look like actual arrests. Some of them might be, some of them might not be. This is bad. This could be your cousin, it could be your kid, it could be your husband, it could be your spouse, it could be a neighbor. Is this what you want to support? Every one of these literally ripping families apart. Attacking these people. Look at this dude wailing on him. Yeah, there's that one with the mother and the kid being stolen and taken. I mean, this is what you're supposed to be in favor of. Anyway, you get the point. And that's all I had to say on today's show. Thank you all for watching the TNAM AM show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media. Please follow us in all the other places. We have the New American Media account on Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, Rumble, YouTube. The Agree to Disagree podcast is on Spotify and Apple, so subscribe to that, please. Patreon.com/The New American Media. PayPal at Fuzz Installment, Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App $Brian Engelman. If you'd like to contribute, we appreciate everyone who has and continues to assist us as we try to provide you awesome news content each and every day. And on all these platforms, we will give you different content every single day. This week, we've had 7 shows in 7 days. I enjoy this. I don't consider this work. I consider this to be awesome. I heard someone say, activism is the rent that you pay to live on Earth. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm always curious. So like, as I'm unpacking the news, let's unpack it together, essentially. Follow us on X. We're at American_media_. And if you're on Telegram and Signal, we're TNAM, TNAM, and TNAM chat, 2 different channels. Follow us there. Signing out for now. I'll be back tomorrow, maybe a little bit later in the morning, but we plan on being there tomorrow. More content as we cover the news together. Go out, get some sunlight, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I appreciate you.